In this video, now that Call of Duty Black Ops 6 has finally gone into full release and Season 1 is in full swing, here are some more of the creative liberties that Treyarch have taken with its depiction of weaponry. As with the previous installment of this video, it's worth remembering that 1. The guns in Call of Duty aren't actually allowed to be accurate due to all sorts of legal nonsense, and Black Ops 6 is set in 1991, so a lot of these inaccuracies are going to be anachronisms. When using many of the game's pistols, the player character holds them in the center axis relock position, developed by Paul Castle in first-person view. This technique wasn't actually developed until the early 2000s. The GS-45 is based on the USP-45, which wasn't commercially available until 1995. The standard and higher capacity magazines are modeled after the 9mm or 40 Smith & Wesson polymer magazines. The USP-45 is chambered in 45 ACP. The default magazine, which is modelled after a 12-round mag, is underloaded, holding only 10 rounds, although 10-round magazines do exist as compliant options. So why they aren't modelled after those, I don't know. Despite this, the magazine still has 12 witness holes on it. The Steady Aim laser is a scaled-down version of the Mark 23 LAM from 1996. The 9mm PM is based on the Makarov, and with that in mind, the 10-round magazine with which it's loaded by default is incorrect. The hand cannon score streak is a particularly cursed gun. It appears to be some sort of amalgamation of the Sig Sauer P220 Sport and a Desert Eagle. This is yet another weird design choice by Treyarch, given that there exist real-life guns that could also fit the bill. Just for instance, you've got the LAR Grizzly Win Mag, which is a large caliber M1911. Not only does it have the iconic M1911 design, it's also actually period accurate. The hand cannon's hammer doesn't actually function. The XM4 is not an XM4. The XM4 designation refers to a completely different A2 carbine to what we see here. Not to mention, even if it was an XM4, it shouldn't be firing in fully automatic mode. Early XM4 models only fired in 3-round bursts. Fully automatic models were introduced much later with a flat-top upper, eventually becoming the modern M4. This one, in fact, is so wide of the mark that it has its own video, the link to which is in the description. This straight waffle MP5 magazine holds 25 rounds instead of 30. This is an unusual design choice since, although technically feasible, 25-round straight waffle mags were not a thing in 1991. This UMP-style stock has the sling mounting pinhole on the wrong side. It also lacks a second pinhole entirely. The SWAT 556 is based on an SG 550. But its magazine attachments are inspired by the SIG 556R, which used AK magazines and was chambered in 7.62 by 39mm. The 556R was not produced until 2014. The default 30-round magazine, meanwhile, is modelled after a 20-round mag. Is it bigger on the inside or something? All of the aforementioned magazines should be chambered in 7.62 by 39mm, but they're incorrectly using 5.56 rounds instead. Another bigger on the inside magazine, Fast Mag 1 is based on a 10-round magazine, but somehow holds 24 rounds. Extended Mag 2, on the other hand, is actually underloaded. It's based on a 75-round AK magazine, but it only holds 60 rounds. The real-life SG 550 has fully automatic capabilities, but the SWAT 556 lacks this. Instead, holding down the trigger fires consecutive 3-round bursts without the need to release the trigger. The HK94 also has this same oversight. The receiver features 3 extra rectangular idents above the magazine, creating a weird waffle pattern instead of the classic single AK-style rectangle above the magwell on each side. The 20-round mags are supposed to have locking lugs that allow them to stack, but here they're missing. The default stock is missing the large hole in its centre and has the sling hole positioned at the bottom of the buttstock. The fire selector switch placement is reversed. The windage and adjustable sight markings are completely missing. The diopter sight is incorrectly modelled as a 3-position sight instead of a 4-position one. Additionally, the other 2 sight apertures are both modelled inaccurately as 100-meter apertures. It also lacks the lug and pinhole necessary to secure the stock when folded, so if you tried to fold the stock it would just freely flap about. When inspecting the weapon with ammo still in it, the operator will eject a single round to inspect, but then sort of drops it into the empty magwell. Somehow, though, the round is held in place for the bolt to pick up before inserting the mag. How? Probably magic, to be honest. The AK-973's front sight post is incorrectly modelled. The gas tube interfaces incorrectly with the front sight post. As mentioned earlier, the AEK should be able to fire fully automatically, but it can't in-game. The model even uses a 3-point selector switch instead of the real weapon's 4-point one. The rear sight is incorrectly depicted with a roofed aperture. In real life, this is only seen on the AK-12 or some custom AK rear sights. The combat stock attachment equips the AK-74 with the 74M's folding stock, except it wouldn't actually fold because it lacks the clamp that would even allow it to do so. It also lacks the cheek rest upper bulge. The Goblin Mark II appears to be the barrel assembly and trigger guard of a Fabrique Nationale FNC, somehow attached to an RMC No. 2? These two guns aren't even chambered in the same caliber. So how on earth this would actually work is beyond us. This completely bonkers idea of a hybrid might actually have been inspired by the FN RAL, a fictional gun from tabletop RPG Cyberpunk 2020. A gun like this should have a modified pistol grip that would allow the user to easily rock a magazine in and out, but the Goblin doesn't have this. It's also erroneously classified as an assault rifle. The term assault rifle refers to select fire rifles chambered in intermediate cartridges. The Goblin, on the other hand, is semi-auto only, so it should be labelled as a battle rifle, a categorization that for some reason has been removed in Black Ops 6. Given that half of this weapon's basis is the RMC No. 2, another inaccuracy would be the Goblin's ability to equip more than one attachment at all, let alone anywhere up to 8. Documents from the Australian Army's Army Design Establishment specifically state that the main issues with the RMC were, among other things, its lack of modularity, in contrast to the highly modular depiction of pretty much any gun in Black Ops 6. Similarly to the XM4, the PP919 isn't a PP919, it's actually a PP90M1. The real-life PP919 is actually the 9x19mm variant of the PP91 Kedda. Not to mention, it's yet another anachronism, as it was developed between 1998 and 2000, way too late for this game's setting. This Kalashnikov-style side-mounted rail is both completely wrong and completely impractical. The PP90M1 never had a side-mounted rail, and even if you tried to put one on, it would require quite a bit of tinkering for it to be compatible with the magazine winding mechanism. Speaking of magazines, attaching this gun's Fast Mag 1 attachment somehow allows you to use the proprietary magazine of the PP19 Bison, which was the PP90M1's direct competitor. So I don't think the two would be cross-compatible with each other in this way. The AK-74 is based on the AK-74N, which uses the 5.45x39 cartridge. Throughout Black Ops 6's campaign, this gun is predominantly used by Iraqi forces. In reality, while Iraq was known to produce AK-74s as early as 1988, 5.45x39 variants such as these would have been relatively uncommon among the Iraqi armed forces. Aside from a small number of tank and vehicle crews, who still constituted a minority within the Iraqi forces overall, they primarily used 7.62x39 AK variants. This wouldn't be a problem were it not for the fact that the AK-74 is the only AK platform weapon appearing in the campaign at all. Considering the game's enemy factions and most of the in-game locations, it's a very odd choice indeed to have those factions mainly use a 5.45x39 AK when they really should have been depicted as using a 7.62 variant, like the Kastov 762 from Modern Warfare 2 and 3. In fact, as touched on earlier, many of the game's weapons already use 7.62 Kalashnikov magazines, so even adding for instance a 7.62 conversion modification would have made this much more accurate to real life. Before we continue, this video is sponsored by Skywoods flashlights. Skywoods specializes in top-notch high-performance flashlights that are designed to withstand the toughest conditions. From underwater to dense woodland and beyond, they provide powerful illumination when you need it most. With various models offering different brightness levels and features, Skywoods has the perfect flashlight for your needs. So, whether you're an outdoors enthusiast looking for something rugged, or putting together a search and rescue kit, or need something to keep the way ahead of you lit up while diving, Skywoods has you covered. Links are in the description if you want to find out more. And with that, let's get back to the complaints. The Remuda rangefinder appears to be based on a Nightforce scope from about 2017. The AccuSpot Ultra Holo appears to be inspired by the Holosun 510C, which came out long after this game's setting of 1991. The tactical laser seems to be an ANPAQ-4C, appearing 2 years before it actually came out. The M203's model has visible RIS screws and lacks a quadrant sight, meaning that it's either based on LMT's M203 model from 2003, which is anachronistic, or on the M203's airsoft model, which, well, is intended for airsoft, not for actual combat. The Dobrich MF reflex appears to be the base of an EKP-818 combined with the frame of a Trigicon MGRS. Both of these sights came out after 1991. And that is all for this video. Thank you very much for watching. Do be sure to like, share and subscribe, and if you like this kind of thing, be sure to check out my channel as well for even more nitpicking of completely harmless media. Leave a comment if you like it, leave a comment if you didn't like it. Either way, it means a lot to us. Until next time, ta-ta!